It's so hard because a lot of times as family members, because we love them so much and we want to help them, we start ending up trying to control everything that they do. Financially, like, do they eat? Where do they live? Who do they hang out with? And we're so involved in their life that we forget about our own. We
Yeah.
forget who we are. We forget to smile. We forget what a moment of joy could feel like.
Welcome to the Becoming Sound podcast, where we dive into the tough stuff and try to find the humor in the hot mess of being an adult child. Join me as we peel back the layers on growing up in dysfunction, navigating substance abuse, mental health challenges, and everything in between.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today on the Becoming Sound podcast. I'm Krista's after host, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you're joining me. Today, I have Sharlin Rahiman on the show, and honestly, I think it was divine intervention that connected us. I feel like we've known each other forever. She is the owner of Sharlin Rahiman Coaching. She is a certified and designated addictions recovery and family coach, and she provides compassionate expert guidance for family members who are affected by a loved one's addiction. Her mission is to empower individuals with the tools, support, and strategies needed to heal, to set boundaries, and regain a sense of control in their lives. With lived experience and professional expertise, Sharlin understands the deep emotional toll that addiction takes on families. I am so excited to speak to her today, so let's get started. Hi, Sharlin. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I've been excited about having this interview.
Me
I
too.
think it was like divine intervention that we met for sure. So I'm really happy to have you here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really believe that too, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, can you share a little bit about your personal journey and what led you to the field that you work in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am an adult child survivor of addiction and family violence, and just growing up and being around it all the time and just living in fear all the time or survival brought me to a place of, and back then, I mean, that was a long time ago, families trying to look for supports. There was no such thing.
Mhm.
There was absolutely such thing, and if it was, it would take forever to get into something. And so over the years, I've always had a passion to work with people. So I've been in the human service field for over 18 years. And 10 of that, I started working with people that were in early recovery and stabilization. And that's where my journey started. And I was actually working with women and
Uh-huh.
women with children that were trying to stabilize and having newborn babies, trying to learn how to be sober, but also learning to be a mother as well and finding that balance. So that's kind of where my journey began in the beginning.
Yeah, that's a tough gig when you're trying to stay sober and become a mom. Becoming a mom's hard enough.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Talk a little bit about some of the things that you went through and what inspired you to specifically want to be a recovery coach.
So growing up was very, very violent, just never knowing when my father was going to come home drunk or on any kind of drugs, basically always walking on eggshells because it
Uh-huh.
was when he would come intoxicated or under the influence, there was a lot of violence in that. And we migrated from our country over here in the 70s. And
Uh-huh.
so there was not a lot of supports for my mother. And I have two older siblings, and we were just constantly in fear. And prior to that, my father did not have an addiction problem until
Mm.
coming here. And so the social setting that he was in at work kind of led him into the way of drinking more and then getting into hard drugs and all of that. And just seeing that, just how he never had any support, not being
Uh-huh.
able to find where do I get the support to get sober, get clean. And that continuum of care, it just didn't even exist.
Uh-huh.
So that brought me to like my passion is to like really walk alongside someone that is struggling or is in recovery. For me, it's not about someone needs to be in recovery. For me, it's, hey, I'm thinking about getting sober, but I'm really
Uh-huh.
struggling right now. Okay, I'll walk alongside you and we'll figure this out together because everyone needs that kind of support, I believe. That's my personal belief is that people need the support of having someone there to just really be there for them to give them that non-judgmental, that empathy and compassion. And
Yeah.
it's because for a lot of people, they come out of treatment and they end up going back to their old community again. And when they're back in the community and they don't have a continuum of care, a lot of times people end up having a reoccurrence of use again.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's such a gap between that space for people wanting to get clean and sober or wanting to get some help, not knowing where to turn. Yeah, there's just not enough. There's not enough people who do this work too.
Absolutely. The wait list to even just get into detox or get
Hmm.
into a treatment center, and a lot of them are pricey.
Yeah.
There's just so much that goes with it. The stigma
Hmm.
and the shame and the guilt, they don't know who to reach out to.
Yeah, all of that is huge.
Hmm.
And I mean, it huge not just for the people who are actually in the addiction, but for everybody in their lives too, you know?
Absolutely. Addiction
Yeah.
affects everyone
Yeah.
that is in their lives for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. So how do you think your personal experiences with this has impacted the way you work with people?
I think because of my lived experience, I come with a lot of compassion and
Hmm.
love and understanding, and knowing that it's not a one size fits all.
Right.
And everybody's recovery journey is different. And there's
Hmm.
also the family needs to go, like, there's recovery for families as well, because we all are affected by it.
Yeah,
And
100%.
it's sad and it's hard. And a lot of times, as family members, we don't know who to reach out to. We're embarrassed.
Yeah.
We don't want to tell anyone.
There's a lot of shame that
Mhm.
comes with, I mean, I am a parent of someone who went through substance abuse as well for a long time, and the shame level is huge. You carry
Absolutely.
so much on your shoulders, and it's so hard to reach out to someone because you feel like you're just going to be judged, that
Yes.
people aren't going to understand. Then what? Then how are they going to look at you?
Going to look at you differently. Society's going to look at you differently. This is
Mhm.
the kinds of things that a lot of people feel. It's absolutely
Yeah,
true, right?
yeah,
And it's hard. And I think from my own lived experience of just seeing my father in addiction and just growing up in that space of just walking in fear all the time, walking on
mhm,
eggshells all the time, and being in survival mode most of my life,
yeah,
um, it's helped me to bring a lot of strength and compassion to the people that I work with because, like I said, it's different for everyone. And if we can really show, like,
mhm,
I'm here for you,
yeah,
like no judgment. I'm here for you. And it's not about me, it's about what works for that person. What does that
yeah,
person need? What is going to help that person? They know. I mean, they're their
yeah.
own expert, right?
Oh, for sure. I think we all have the answers inside of us. It's just sometimes we push them down so far we can't see them. When do you think that you started to recognize some of the effects of your childhood? Was there like a moment in time that you just thought, this has really affected me? How did it show up in your life?
Oh, absolutely. Like me going to school in elementary school, I couldn't function.
Yeah.
I couldn't pass a test. My behavior, I was always getting into fights. I had so much anger built up and
Mm,
it just all of that was continuously. And as I got older and I realized I went back to school and I would have to take an exam, I always had that in my mind that I would fail because I could not pass anything in elementary
mm,
school because I was just in survival mode and I just
yeah.
couldn't function. I could not function. And so I think that was probably when I went back to school and I realized, like, oh, I'm acing this. Like, I'm getting an A. Like, me, I can do this. Like, yeah, you can. It's so different when you can actually empower yourself
Mhm.
and learn that, yes, you can do things. Like, sometimes we go through things in life that are out of our control. I mean, I didn't even finish high school because I just could not function.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I dropped out in grade 8 because I
Yeah.
just absolutely could not function. I didn't want to live at home. So I was constantly running away from home and like just
Mhm.
always getting myself into trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I know it. You don't know how to process all of the
Hmm.
stuff that's coming at you, and you just develop this different identity. You're not worthy. You just can't do anything
Absolutely.
right. You know, you live walking on eggshells all the time. You're living in survival mode, even when you're not at home. Yeah, when I listen to your story, I hear myself. I hear my own. Right? I was terrified in school. Like I would never raise my hand. I was so worried about what someone would say or think or judge me if I even answered a question wrong. I was just terrified.
Yeah,
And
absolute no confidence as a
yeah,
child. Yeah.
no confidence. And then later in life, when I was in my 20s and I went to a massage school, freaking aced it. I was
Yeah,
like,
right.
what? It's like so,
Is
I'm
this
like, man,
me?
I'm really smart. Who knew? Oh, it's so true.
That,
We walk the same path, just in different shoes, you know?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
I had the same thing. I'd sit in the back of the class and like, no, please don't ask, like, make sure the teacher doesn't ask me anything because
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like I wasn't smart enough and I wasn't confident and, oh, I'm just going to say the wrong answer anyway. So, always
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
You stop believing in yourself, in your core. That's so impactful, and I see that when I look at other people now and the level of awareness that I have now. You see that in kids or in young people, and you're like, oh wow, I wonder what's happening at home,
Yes.
or I wonder what's going on for them, because I can see that that confidence is just not there. And tell us a little bit about the impact on the family members when someone they love has a substance use disorder.
Man. It's so hard because a lot of times, as family members, because we love them so much and we want to help them, we start ending up trying to control everything that they do. Financially, like, did they eat? Where do they live? Who do they hang out with? And we're so involved in their life that we forget about our own. We
Yeah.
forget who we are. We forget to smile. We forget what a moment of joy could feel like. We
Hmm.
can forget, we forget everything. Sometimes some people don't even shower for days because they're
Wow. Hmm.
so involved in the person that's in addiction, their life,
Yeah.
because they want to help them so bad and it hurts.
Codependency's very
Yes,
high. Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
learning to step away is the hardest thing to do
Hmm.
because you don't know if that person that your loved one is going to make it today. Are they going to
Yeah.
survive today? Are they going to live today, another day?
Yeah. That's like one of the toughest things for me going through the experience with my son. It was like in the forefront of my thoughts at all times
Mhm.
that if I stop giving money, if I stop calling him, if I stop just all of it, if I stop worrying, even something bad will happen. And then what? Like the unknown, you can't imagine losing your child, but how do you actually work through that process for someone who's really deep in that?
Yeah, it's hard. Absolutely. And it's one day at a time. It's just like being in recovery for
Yeah.
family members too. It's one day at a time. Every day we have to work on even just taking like one moment of joy, of
Hmm.
maybe having a cup of tea, that
Yeah.
could bring you joy, or just looking outside at the sunshine.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times we forget to do those kinds of things too. And building boundaries is a huge, huge thing. Because in reality, we're doing more harm than good,
Hmm. Yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, that cliche saying, you got to put your own oxygen mask on first, but it's
Yeah,
so true.
it's
It's
so
so
true.
true. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, not only is the
absolutely.
person suffering, you know, but you're right there with them. And you can't help someone when you are trying to give from an empty place.
Exactly.
Like you
Exactly.
just have nothing.
Us as family members, a lot of times we end up living in fear because the person that's in addiction, their behavior from an addict's point can be very aggressive, can be
Mhm.
violent. And so we just start giving things because we're like, if they come and ask you for money and you're saying, this time I'm not going to give you money. But
Yeah.
when they come and if they're aggressive and you live in fear, there's fear in so many different ways. There's so much to it. It is very complex.
Can you talk about some of the misconceptions that about addiction and recovery that you encounter when you work with families?
A lot of times, people that don't know, they think, okay, well, this person just wants to be this way. He or she doesn't want to get better. They like their life like this.
Yeah.
Or if they are in recovery and have a reoccurrence, oh, it's because they just want to go outside and use. Like, that is more important to them than getting better. And that's not what it really is.
Right.
Addiction, like you're saying, addiction and recovery is so complicated and it's so complex. And a lot of times, yeah, people are like, or for family members, for instance, oh, why don't you just stop talking to them? Just,
Yeah.
it's not that easy.
No.
It's not that
Not at all.
easy.
It's not at all. Yeah.
You
And
know,
I think people forget too that the mental health aspect of there's a lot of co-occurring stuff that goes on with people.
absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
a way for them to cope, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand that. It's not even looking at the mental health. A lot of times
Right.
people are just angry and, why is that person just like, they don't want to change. They want to be
Uh-huh.
like this. And no, it's not. There's
Uh-huh.
so much to it.
Yeah.
And you're right, absolutely. Co-parent disorders is a big thing and it's a real thing.
I interviewed a doctor when he was saying that one of his clients, the young man said, it was my mom that saved my life because she kept calling me at the most inopportune times. She kept leaving me these voicemails. I love you, just want to make sure you're safe, just thinking about you. And he's like, I'm trying to shoot heroin, and my mom's leaving this soppy message on my voicemail. He said it would make me want to stop. Like, that's what really kept him going and pushing him towards recovery. I think sometimes, like you said, when we just ask, well, why don't they just stop? It's not that simple. It's very complicated, but we also don't have the language to communicate with them either. Like, as family
Yes.
members, we don't know what to say.
Because it's too personal and our
Yeah.
emotions are involved in it, right? It's too close to home. We're angry, we're sad, we're hurt, we're feeling all the same things too, right? And
Hmm. So where do you start with someone who comes in for some guidance and jumping into their own recovery? What are some of the things that you start with?
so it really depends on where that person is at. I'm
Hmm.
the type of person, I don't guide the person who wants to get into recovery. It's really, I meet them exactly where they are at.
Yeah.
It's really what they want. What is going to help them right now? What are they seeking? What's going to support them? What's going to make them feel better? What is their heart saying for them to, if they come in and say, hey, I'm really wanting to get into recovery. Okay. So we'll talk about all the different things of, are they wanting to get into treatment? Are they wanting to they wanting to do it at a home? Do they have their supports? Like, what are they wanting to do?
Yeah. And what about family members looking for some support and guidance? What do you kind of
A lot
start
of
with them?
times it's just being there. It's exactly that. It's almost the same. It's
Yeah.
what do they need? What do they need right now? And walking alongside them and meeting them exactly where they are at.
I remember in a family group, one of the guys who was leading it said, I see so many moms come in here looking for the handbook on how to
Uh-huh.
fix their kid, right? And there is no
There
handbook.
is no handbook. And
No.
yeah, honestly, and like like I said, it's not a one size fits all, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I do is always make an individualized plan with the person of what they want to do. And it always changes too. It's
Hmm.
not written in stone where we can, okay, this is what we're going to do, A, B, and C.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's constantly changing as the person is evolving and growing. And, maybe I wanted this a month ago, but that's not what I want right now. That's
Yeah.
not going to serve me right now.
Yeah, for sure. It is very complex. What are some of the biggest challenges that a family member would come in with? Like, what's kind of the top things that they are wanting relief from?
Control.
Uh, yeah.
They drive themselves crazy wanting to control and they realize it and every little step that their child or their brother or their sister takes or their parent, they want to know everything. And like I was saying before, they lose themselves in it and they start realizing this is not working. This is not sustainable.
Me feel crazy too, right?
Yeah,
You,
control and boundaries, having no more boundaries and relearning to have boundaries again,
yeah,
relearning how to live again is a
yeah,
huge thing,
yeah.
because can't even go on vacation because you're in fear of what's going
Hmm.
to happen. You can't leave for a couple of days because you need to know what your family member is doing and where they are.
Yeah, yeah. It's all consuming. It really
Yeah.
is. Whether you grow up in it or you have a child or a family member in it, it is really all consuming. It's no different than the person who's in the addiction. It
Yep.
is truly a family disease and it affects everybody. There's
Yeah.
nobody escapes without something. I want to ask you how you approach individuals who are maybe really resistant to seeking help.
Yeah. See, that's tough because it's got to come from that person.
Hmm.
It really does when that person is ready, because then that's the thing of control again. It's like, okay, I want my family member to get better. So what can I do to get them there? Well, we
Yeah.
can't, cannot. And like what you were saying earlier of that woman just calling and saying, that is the best thing you can do, is just letting them know you love them. They are not alone. You love them.
Hmm. Keeping the lines of
And you are,
communication open.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just,
I mean,
hey, I'm here.
I'm
I
sure
love
they
you.
already feel bad enough, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
just hearing
Yeah.
those small words, I mean, they're not small, they're big. Of,
Hmm.
hey, so you really do still love me? Like,
Yeah.
that's huge,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people lose hope and a lot of people do lose their support system. So just having anyone in your life that if you have that, making sure you're reaching out and telling that person just that you love them. You can't fix them.
You
It's not
can't,
your
no,
job to, yeah,
exactly. And
change
that's a lot of
everything.
things that family members struggle with is, okay,
Hmm.
well, how can I get this person better? We go, well, you can.
It's their journey, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And as family members, there is hopes for our own healing journey as well.
Hmm. Yeah. What are some of the tools and strategies that you recommend outside of coaching that the family members can start doing for themselves?
And, like I was saying earlier, just even finding one moment of joy for yourself,
Hmm.
starting from something small like that, because that can even be just so difficult to do, to
Yeah.
like sit down and just whatever brings you joy, even for a little moment, finding peace for yourself,
Hmm.
even if it's for a few moments,
Yeah.
starting from there, because we do lose ourselves too. And yeah, just once a day doing something kind for yourself.
Yeah.
And that could
Yeah.
be just looking outside at the sunshine and
Hmm.
smiling. It could be just being able to sit down and have a cup of tea, or maybe even read a book for 5 minutes, whatever brings some joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and like you have experience in this, like
Hmm.
it's hard to do that, right?
It is.
Because your
It's
mind
really
is
hard.
constantly
Yeah.
on that person.
Yeah, exactly. I totally suggest reaching out reaching out to someone like you who does recovery coaching or going to a group session too can open your eyes to a lot of stuff. Because when you isolate and you don't look for that support, that's when you spiral.
Yeah,
And that's when,
absolutely. And there is people out there that you can relate to that are peers, that are family members. There are group
uh
supports, and um, unfortunately, there's not many of them, but there is some. Yeah. I think the beginning parts is just learning to find some sort of peace and joy for a moment, because a lot of times people don't have the courage to reach out to other people right away.
right. Yeah. There's a stigma there for sure. What are your goals for your coaching practice in impacting the community in a bigger way? Like what do you envision for yourself and what you're doing?
I have a lot of things that I want to do. I want to create something for family members to be able to come get coaching, because like I said, we have to be on our own recovery journey as well. So I would love to create some sort of group, where people can meet once a week. I want to continue my recovery coaching for people that are in addiction or in recovery right now. But I also want to create something that is, because a lot of times addiction and family violence go hand in hand.
Hmm.
So I want to create something, a safe space for people that can come and be that are fleeing domestic violence or addiction.
Hmm.
Yeah, those are like the next few steps that I want to take in the near future.
Yeah.
Creating a safe space, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. How, as a community, can we start to dismantle the stigma and the shame that surrounds addiction and just getting people to look at it differently? How can we do that as a community?
As a community, we need to start learning. We need to learn. We need to educate ourselves. And that's kind of one other piece that I would like to do with recovery is starting to teach more groups. And, so a lot of people don't have an understanding of addiction,
Yeah.
and if I feel that, and I believe that if people knew what it does and the disease and how it is, I think it would break a lot of the stigma. I really
Hmm.
do. It's just a lot of people in society don't understand it. Educate.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the media doesn't help either. You see videos of people or you see their behavior when they are in an addicted state. And it's not always the case of how people act and behave, but it really paints a horrible picture
It
to
does.
the larger community. But yeah, educating people is huge.
Yeah,
Just even,
absolutely.
yeah, and how you view your
It's
community.
so, yeah,
I don't think that there are a lot of people who aren't affected by this in some way. I
yeah,
could probably line up 10 people and 9 of them will have
yeah,
it in their family in some way,
absolutely.
shape, or form. Yeah.
Yes.
And so education is huge. It's got to be a part of the conversation, right?
Yeah. And I feel that even in the school systems right now,
Hmm.
like kids are starting to use more of drugs in the high schools, in elementary schools. If
Yeah.
we can bring that
Jeez.
education piece to schools,
Yeah.
understanding addiction, understanding what substances do to you.
And I love that too. And I think they also need a piece on, if someone would have showed up when I was in school and started talking about the feelings I was feeling,
Hmm.
could, I can't even imagine the impact that would have made. I mean, we
Right.
didn't talk about anything when I grew up because I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So
Me too.
let's just,
It was
nobody
just
talked
nobody
about
talked.
anything.
No,
No.
suck it
But
up and move on.
exactly, suck it up and move on. It's so
Yeah.
true. So true. And I mean, I think that shapes you in ways. It makes you strong, but it also makes you hide so many things. It makes you
Absolutely.
live in the shame and hang on to all that stuff. But if someone would have come to me in grade 4 or 5 and started talking about some of the feelings I was having, like actually identifying the walking on eggshells, the hypervigilance, and being
Hmm.
scared and not understanding what was going on in my family, I mean, that could have changed my whole world.
Right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine knowing that you're not alone in this?
Yeah. Like I
What
just,
a difference would that would have made if
huge
just
difference.
knowing, oh, I am not the only one. This is
Yeah.
part of what happens when yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you do think you're alone. I thought an entire elementary and junior high school, I thought my dad was the only one who was drinking.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
only one who this was happening to. But the sad thing is that the conversation wasn't there, and it really needs to be in schools. I think it's getting better. I mean, I think there are some conversations there. Teachers are being trained a little bit differently. I mean, social media, you hear it everywhere. So the awareness is more there. And I hope teachers are talking or being open to asking questions when they see students struggling, because that kid who doesn't put their hand up or sits in the back of the class and doesn't want to participate, who seems, detached, that I hope they're asking questions.
Yeah.
I
Or,
really hope so.
or the kid that's continuously getting into trouble or it's
Yeah.
so angry.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It can look really silent or really loud,
Hmm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the PEP Society
What
and
would
what
you
they
like to know?
do?
So the Pet Society it was actually parents empowering parents
Hmm.
when it first began. I think it began back in the 80s. And so now what it is like a group every week on virtual, and you can have in-person groups every other week in three different locations. And there's an education
Hmm.
component to learning about addiction. I mean, there's different things that we talk
Yeah.
about that could be addiction or learning tools or learning boundaries. And then we have an open group discussion. And what it is people that are family members that are affected by a loved one's addiction, and they can come there and just be and
Hmm.
share what's happening for them. And it is safe space for them to be able to share.
Hmm.
Um, because like we were saying before, there's so much shame around it for family members
Yeah.
too, and a lot of people just don't get it.
Yeah.
And so coming into a space like that where it's creating supports for yourself, creating the peer to peer where people can just absolutely just be and let go and talk about it, and there's other people there that can relate to it.
There's such power in hearing your own story being
Hmm.
said back to you. You're hearing yourself and all of these people being vulnerable and being open. There is immense power in that.
Absolutely. And it's just
Yeah.
so empowering. It is
Hmm.
so empowering to watch because it is family members that it could be mothers, it could be sisters, brothers, whatever it is, anyone that's affected by a loved one's addiction is
Yeah.
welcome to come. And just the amount of how the peers support one another and empower
Hmm.
each other and, give each other strength.
That's so important. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's huge. So tell me a little bit about what you have going on now and some of the stuff you got coming up.
So, I will be having an event April 22nd,
Okay.
and it's for just some education on how addiction affects children.
Hmm.
Um, and then that will be here in Edmonton. I will also be speaking at an event called Break the Stigma in
Okay.
Calgary on April 20th.
Break the stigma. Perfect. I'm going to put all this in the show notes too. And I am going to be speaking with you at the April 22nd
You
event. So
sure
I'm so
are.
excited.
I'm so excited too.
I
I'm
am too.
so grateful
And
to have you.
I'm so honored to be invited to that. And I am so looking forward to it. And I hope we can make an impact. And I always say just one person, if you can
Yeah.
change just one person walks out of that room or walks away from the
With an
podcast
aha
or
moment. Yeah.
yeah, with this new awareness and the desire to change their life or turn their life around, for the
Hmm.
better. So that
Yes.
is always the goal. And
Yes.
so I'm excited
Always.
about that. And where
Yeah.
can people reach you? Where can people find you?
Um, well, my website is kind of long, Charlene Raymond Coaching. So yeah, you can find me at Charlene Raymond Coaching. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Yeah. And I'll post all that in the show notes. And I have one more question for you, too. If you could go back and tell yourself a piece of advice when you were in your let's say early 20s, what would have been?
Hmm. Don't give up.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. 'Cause we can't always live in survival, right? But we deserve more. We
Yeah.
deserve to have everything that we want in life. So don't give up. It's coming. You will have a beautiful life.
That's awesome. Anything else you want to cover before we wrap up?
No, I've had a great time. Thank you.
Well, it's been awesome. And I'm so looking forward to working with you. And I love what you do. I just think it's such meaningful work. And I know we need more people to do the work that you do because unfortunately, addiction and the mental health stuff is just at an all-time high.
Yes.
It's the world we live in, and we just need more people to be reaching out and offering support and help to those that really need it. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Krista. I'm really looking forward to working with you as well.
Me
I'm really
too.
excited.
Me too. And it's been my pleasure having you on, so thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today on another episode of Becoming Sound. If this episode resonated with you in some way, please share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It helps to get this information out to more people who may need it. If you have a sec, I would love a follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. While you're there, hit the 5-star rating and give me a review. When you're scrolling, follow me on my social platforms, and I would love to hear your comments and feedback. Have a fabulous day, lots of love and gratitude from me. Please note, the views, information, and opinions expressed during the Becoming Sound podcast series are solely those of the individuals involved. The content of this podcast is to educate, inform, and for entertainment purposes only. This podcast series and the content presented does not constitute for medical or other professional advice or services. If you are in crisis or in need of help, please contact your medical or professional provider.